What's the worst scandal to happen at your school? The math teacher left his wife of 18 years for one of the graduating seniors. One year in exams days they were trying to add a new method to prevent cheating, where a man from the administration comes to every class before every exam and collects students' phones while sticking a sticker with a number on each phone and giving the same sticker to the student so he can get his phone after school without anyone taking someone else's phone that looks alike or something. This was working at first and a bit preventing cheating until one day some guy sneaked into our high school and came as the man who collects the phones while he wasn't. He stole the whole high school phones and went lol. My English teacher in the 11th grade was sleeping with the whole girls basketball team in exchange for straight A's. I actually failed English that year, but when that made the news my school said I didn't have to go anymore because he wasn't doing the grading properly. Everyone who had his class got a B. Freshman year, a junior accused the pet teacher of sexually assaulting her after hours in the locker room. He was put on leave and eventually got off on a technicality. Senior year, there was a freak snowstorm in April, during which the quietest and nicest stoner in our class went missing. A day later they found his car in a ditch, and a week later, when the snow melted, they found his body, head crashed down, in his presumed half state, gotten mad to walk for help with no coat on. He eventually found a telephone pole and sat down against it to rest and was believed to have frozen to death in the storm. Seeing his mom at her only child's funeral still haunts me. My middle school banned hugging and hand holding during course changes because it blocked the hall. In protest all the 8th graders stood up and hugged each other during their lunch period. A bunch of students got detention. Made the cover of the Charlotte Observer. Edit. Thanks for the rewards all. I don't think I've gotten more than 100 likes or awards before, but please spend your money on other things. People are in need this holiday season. The principal slept with a student and his nudes and sexts were leaked. A student that was in the grade above me, I was a senior. He had graduated, killed his girlfriend, and buried her by the train tracks right behind the school. There was a kid whose girlfriend brought a knife into school and planned to kill herself in the bathroom. He knew her locker combination, so he took the knife and hid it in his, so she wouldn't do it and wouldn't get busted. Someone snitched on him and he got expelled for having a knife on campus. Whole town was pissed. A male gym teacher did land some girls volleyball players. Principal got fired for threatening teachers if they didn't produce enough A's and driving a grade inflation scandal. That and the usual drugs and such. When I was in 5th grade, the male teacher I'd had in 4th grade was fired for helping a high school cheerleader undress. Looking back, he was a creeper. Edited to at, I was wrong. It was a 10-year-old. Just found it. Close bracket. A kid in my senior year short story class, who sat directly behind me, was charged with the stabbing, beheading and burning of one of his friends / drug dealer. I remember the day, like it was yesterday, sitting in my short story class, when my teacher came in tears because she just heard the news. Students didn't find out about it until later. I actually have a friend who testified in his trial because he purchased the murdering materials at the hardware store she worked at. Crazy, man. We had a computer teacher / football assistant coach who was just blasted all day. Had so many DUIs he had to get rides to work, but was the cousin of the superintendent, so he kept his job. Let's just say that when he crashed a student's car in the parking lot because he convinced them to let him borrow it, that was the beginning of the end of it. It was a small town. The scandal is that the super tried to cover it up by trying to convince the kid to take the heat for it. To no one's surprise, the kid was not convinced. They let him stay on a super for another 2 years. This happened between my sister and brother graduating. So it would have been 1996 or 1997. The HS Ag teacher started dating a student at some point. Everyone knew about it, and the parents consented. Our HS was, and is, small enough to still participate in senior trips, and the Ag teacher went along as a chaperone when his GF was a senior. They shared a hotel room when I believe the student was still technically a 17 years old minor. At the time I remember my parents being rather put off by it, but they still hired the guy as a summer farmhand. I don't remember if he was fired or stepped down. But by the time I made it to HS we had a different ag teacher. They got married and had a child. Divorced maybe 5 or 10 years ago. Their kid goes to our HS now. I don't know why it wasn't a huge deal at the time, but no one really raised a stink or threatened to call the authorities. Today it feels like a case of grooming by a predatory farm boy. The 30ish theatre teacher ran off with a recent grad. I was kind of pals with the student during a play the spring before the scandal, and she hosted the cast party where in retrospect, they seemed a little cozier than appropriate. As much as I'm dying for the inside scoop, I can't imagine friending her on social media and asking so what was up with you and Mr. backslash underscore 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 apostrophe. The caretaker killed 2 local girls and hid them in the school. He tried using the clay kiln to burn them. He later dumped them a few miles away. In middle school, 8th grade / early 2000s, one of the hot girls sent a couple nude pictures to her BF, and it wasn't long until half the school had them. Police ended up becoming involved to make sure any old copies were destroyed. In high school there was a little scandal involving the teachers and a teachers club called the Hot Tub Club. Faculty members that had hot tubs would host a weekly hot tub party with other hot tub owners. Turns out they were all getting wasted and having a swinging party every Wednesday. Some Bardis pals found out about it, and there was a huge exodus of hot tub teachers my senior year. Edit. The main people involved with the photo were reprimanded but not charged. The girl had a sit down with a counselor to discuss what happened, and we all had a big assembly to discuss the consequences that could happen if people shared those kind of images. It scared a lot of kids straight. Nobody was fired from the school for being in the hot tub club. Teachers left because it was convenient timing with the opening of another high school, and there was constant babble about it. Just for clarity, this all happened in a small town in Western Canada. By the looks of mine, both are not uncommon occurrences. Kid made a chlorine bomb and threw it in the trash can at lunch. Lockdown. Bomb squad. Every single kid and faculty member out on the field in 95 weather for 2+ hours until parents could show up to pick up their kids. I was in 4th or 5th grade and someone sketched in the middle school bathroom not to go on school Friday or I will bang bang. This was then brought to the attention of the county and state police, and we didn't have school that day, and the police searched everyone's lockers for a firearm. Edit. This was in Pennsylvania. They were never caught, and I do not believe they found a weapon. This was also at Derry Area Middle School, while I was at Grandview for elementary. First week of high school. Pet class. The first section was swim. Wasn't my class, but the class after. This kid was playing a game with his friends in the water. Who could hold their breath the longest? He was going up for air and hit head on the pointy part of the gutter, and never made it to the surface. Friends didn't notice. Teacher didn't notice. Eventually football players coming back to the locker rooms noticed. He ended up dying. Teacher was fired, although I wouldn't fully blame him as he was attending and teaching kids who didn't know how to swim or weren't strong swimmers. One adult for over 60 kids? ? That's the school's fault. Probably the time a girl gave a guy a BJ in the bathroom. The guy filmed it and sent it to his friend. His friend sent all around the school. Eventually the police had to get involved because the one guy was guilty of distribution of child pornography. A girl in my middle school was telling people she had a hit list of people she was going to kill. Got caught with the list and was sent to a hospital for a while. She came back a few years later in high school. Edit. Seems like a lot of people had a similar occurrence in school. This was in Michigan. 2 teen pregnancies. Same dude. 2 teen pregnancies. No dude. My graphics teacher was married to my maths teacher, and one night he killed her during a domestic dispute. She was apparently having an affair and started taunting him about it in an argument while waving a fire poker at him. He grabbed it off her, hit her over the head and killed her. He was sent to prison for manslaughter, not murder, as the court accepted there was no premeditation. My mum was also a teacher at the school and friends with both of them, so it had a big impact on my family as well as the school. This kid was taking his GCSEs, important exams in England, until you get older and realize they mean duck all. Whilst at an exam, some kids got onto his phone, went onto his notes, and found a 4,000 word document consisting of his sexual fantasies with other girls in his year. Clearly paid attention in English as there was some clever wordplay egg, comparing his cock to some world famous landmarks. The screenshots found their way into a lot of group chats. There were about 20 odd screenshots. To put into context how long it was, and it basically acted as a vag repellent for the rest of his time at the school. During middle school, a few kids sold weed and someone that bought some smoked it in the building, which was just stupid. The kid that sold it to him didn't want to get in trouble, so he pulled the fire alarm so people wouldn't find the kid. We all got to go home afterwards. My high school guidance counselor ducked a science teacher's wife and everyone knew about it. They got a divorce. Both teachers still work at the same school to this day, and students will never ever let it go. The story has been handed down from year to year. Long story short, the principal got arrested for hiding cameras in the bathroom. This was back in elementary. He was a total ducking creep. The Harlem Shake was a craze. We had an RE teacher who desperately enjoyed being the popular teacher, so he got in on the craze. Invited 40 pupils from my year to his classroom at lunch and filmed his own Harlem Shake video, which in itself would have been against safeguarding rules. Thing is, he also taught sex ed, so everyone got into his cupboard before the start of the video for props. The video was essentially a group of 14-year-olds throwing dildos and condoms around the room while he, of his own accord, grinded on life-size cute out of the Pope. He was suspended under investigation for half a year, but surprisingly kept his job. He was a lot more professional when he returned. A girl died in the pool during an event at the school. The swim teacher was blamed and was prosecuted. The girl who died was at my sister's class. Both were 7 at the time. That happened over 10 years ago, but the parents haven't had another child since. She was their only kid. Back in high school, the entire football team was almost expelled because one girl gave blowjobs to every single one of the players in the locker rooms. Supposedly they were all in a circle and the girl was just going around to each person. The kicker? The girl's brother was on the team, and he let it happen. Edit. Everyone's asking, but it's my understanding that the brother didn't partake in it, but he was effectively forcing her to not stop until she was done with everyone. The team ended up not getting in any major trouble, but the girl was suspended for a good minute. A guy in year 10th made a statement that the more compact a group of people are, the higher the death toll would be in a shooting, and we were genuinely talking about shootings and somehow people mistook it that he was gonna do it. It was a joke and everyone was playing along at first. Cut to 11 months later, he was in year 11th. The whole school knows. Rumors got out. The truth was beyond ducking twisted and changed to something different. Kids were actually scared to come in. Parents were pissed. Teachers were anxious. They had to search the kid. They kicked him out 9 days before he finished for good. Was still allowed to do exams, but had to do separately from everyone else. The police were involved, and it made the news, but the news article is complete fake and bullshit. He also wasn't allowed to prom. This was around 4 to 5 years ago. He told me he was doing a lot better now. He went to a better school for 6th form. He says whilst he has moved on with his life, he will never forgive the bastards. Also, we live in England and guns are much harder to get, especially to the average person who knows nothing about how to get guns. Please subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.